if you ask me what's the hottest sector in crypto right now, that would be the one.
Stablecoins.
Yeah, it's probably the most profitable industry in the history of time. That is now being, to some extent, decentralized. At least it's become a commodity for people to get access.
Jonas Kristensen is the head of Wintermute Ventures, one of the most active investment arms in crypto, with over 100 portfolio companies. As part of Wintermute's core team, he's helping build the infrastructure that powers on-chain finance.
What makes a good founder to you?
There's no this is the manual to be a good founder, to be honest with you. I think they come in all shapes and forms. The founder is, I wouldn't say you carry the world on your shoulders, but I think tenacity and ability to adapt to change is super good.
Today we are recording live from the Finance Leaders Collective. I am here with Jonas Kristensen. He is the head of Wintermute Ventures. I'm Jacquelyn Melanek, and I'm excited to sit down with him to talk more about the state of crypto VC. Wintermute has backed over 100 companies. That is a lot of different startups. How much did you participate in?
I mean, we've been around since 19, so we're probably by now one of the old guard in crypto and on the venture side. I mean, clearly so. And we also have the benefit of, we invest our own balance sheet. It's segregated out from our core business, but we have the freedom. We don't have external LPs. I think that's public knowledge. So it gives us freedom to be there both in the bear and the bull markets. That also means we've been super consistent over the last 6 years. So we do roughly 25 investments a year. Across the space. I mean, I think we backed a lot of the main guys. We also try to back what we deem positive for crypto, right? So if you think about Wintermute's core business, we're clearly one of the bigger trading firms in the industry. And for us, the focus is really on taking the industry forward. A lot of that is the plumbing, the piping, that kind of puts together crypto, makes things move. A lot of that is trading. Clearly, our core business is trading. So a lot of our investment focus sits in what we define as infrastructure. So a lot of it could be the staking, it could be the accounting platform like Trust Finance or similar. For Trust, we're really just a customer. But we look at all the plumbing and piping, what we call financial infrastructure. That's where we have our main focus. It's also where we think we're good as an investor. We can be a value add. So that's where our focus has been. That's panned out to just north of 100 investments over the last 6 years.
Amazing. How would you define the state of crypto VC today? I've talked to a few founders while at this event, and some of them have expressed that, they feel like the activity has kind of dialed back a bit. Then I talked to some venture capitalists who, make a face and say, I don't know about that. So do you think we are down in a lull period, or these deals are getting done in the background and the activity is actually still there? I don't think it's near 2021, 2022 peaks, but...
I think I make a face just more the realization of there's mixed opinions on this topic, right? You'll have a founder who has experienced something, another founder has experienced something. I will say though, I think crypto is renowned for being, peaks and troughs. That's been the case. Are we at bull market or bear market? I'd definitely say we're tending, from our perspective, it's more of a bull than a bear. We're seeing a lot of the institutions that came in 21, 22 starting to come in again. I think that's also reflected in the liquid markets. So I think, as a founder, it all comes down to the product, who you are, your vision, regardless of where it's a bull market, a bear market. And to be clear, someone like us, we invest as much in the bear market as we in the bull market. So for us, it comes down to the founders. It's not for us to opine about, the exact market, but I would say we think it's a positive funding environment for entrepreneurs today. But again, it comes down to the focus areas. A lot of topics are super hot right now, like stablecoin has been the talk of the town.
Right.
I think we have had the pleasure to back some entrepreneurs back in 22, 23 that's focused in these areas. They're definitely starting to see the fruits of their labor. I think I would say it's a net positive environment for founders to come and fundraise. You're also seeing an adoption of, I would say, you have, in crypto still a small space, in our opinion, at least, you have, we're sitting at ECC here. There's probably 15,000 people on the ground. People know each other. It's still a small industry to some extent, up to professionals in it. And it's the same with the VC side, right? You probably have a big, two handfuls of very, very active VC firms that are consistent through markets and years. And I think you see that now with pricing, the positive environment from a liquid perspective, you have more outsiders coming in to allocate to the space. And that's why I think some people feel that we have more institutional firms coming in investing. And that means some of the rounds, the later stage to deploy big capital. You're definitely seeing some interesting pricing elements. But I think the seed stage, it always has a little bit less fluctuation on the valuation, the capital. I think the capital is always there at seed. It's really the Series A, Series B level. They dry out in a bear market or bull market to some extent. So, but yeah, that would be my convoluted answer to your question.
But the activity is active.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically.
Yeah,
The TLDR.
definitely. TLDR is, I think it's very active. Yeah, and I do think the U.S. election also was like, it definitely put a, what should I say? It put a fury under everyone. Like, it opened up the corridor. The U.S., the regulatory regime changed. And Wintermute itself, you know, we have now opened the New York office. We don't have trading operations there, but we have, you know, a BD team there. So I think a lot of people are seeing the U.S. regulatory environment become more positive towards crypto. And I think that trickles down to founders. You're also seeing a lot of products. I mean, we saw Robinhood's announcement earlier this week, tokenized equities, they're launching perps. They're also embracing a lot of crypto core products, which I think, I mean,
Different from the last time.
well on them. I think that's a net positive, right? I think Robinhood might be able to do what Coinbase have done. I think a lot of firms and industry owned Coinbase a lot, I think, because they have been this constant publicly traded company who's embedded crypto, been there, bear, bull market. They've had a lot of visibility for the space. I hope Robinhood can help do that for the space, because I think from our vantage point, you know, the space grows every year. And then we have fallouts like the FTX, some actors fall away. But I think you have the same firms that are so convicted in crypto stayed around. I like to put us in that camp, given we've been there. And I think it's the same for a lot of these firms.
Right. You also brought up stablecoins, and it's definitely a hot topic that, you know, I've discussed a lot with people, and also have seen a lot of startups pop up in that space. And, you know, with the regulatory environment as well, we're seeing stablecoins through the Genius Act, which hopefully will come through. And I think that will also create a massive influx of more stablecoin startups, right? So, yeah. But I guess my question here for you is someone that, you know, is constantly investing in early stage projects. You probably get a bunch of these to your email inbox, pitch everywhere. What makes a good project right now to you stand out, especially in that category?
I mean, again, it comes down to founders, right? You need to, meet people that have conviction. They have a good idea, or at least they have the conviction they can get there. I think a lot of the seed stage investing, it's also like finding founders who have tenacity. They really want this. They have a clear vision. The reality is also you back a founder, they don't quite get product market fit. If you go very early stage, they might pivot. But if you pick their strong founder, which has a genuine interest in the space, has the right ethical and moral standards, I mean, they are likely to find product market fit. Also, because crypto is very fast moving. There's a lot of opportunities. The market is still very underserved compared to TradFi. There's a lot of niche businesses, which can be we have services for that in TradFi. We don't quite have that.
Right.
And then I think Tether is has been this business that's just kept on growing, become a behemoth now. It's also like a North Star for a lot of people. Okay, there's a lot of money to be made. That's reality. The Circle IPO a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
I think surprised a lot of people. I think it also indication of that there's a lot of demand to invest in the sector, but for a lot of institutional investors who only have access to the public markets, if you want stablecoin exposure, there's probably a little lag to invest. Hence, I think the Circle share price is up, crazy amount since IPO. I think it's a very good indicator of how much demand belief there's in the sector. And that's also, to be honest with you, we have an investment team. We're very active in the seed stage. That's also a kind of indicator of our work. And you've seen that, like historically, we back like Nick from Angora Finance. They're building a very, very strong product in the space. You had Athena with Guy back 2 years ago. We backed them. They take a slightly different take on it, but all of these guys have found or started to find very strong product market fits. And I think it's a space that it's money. Everyone holds it. We have so much idle assets sitting around. Well, it's your brokerage account in the bank. They're not getting yield. You know, you can really untap that market. The banks have been sitting on it. It's probably the most profitable industry in the history of time. That is now being, to some extent, some will say decentralized, but like at least it's become a commodity for people to get access.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard not to be excited about it. But yeah, competition heating up. When that happens, money gets thrown at these things. Will be a good investment. Time will tell. But there's definitely, if you ask me what's the hottest sector in crypto right now, that would be the one.
Stablecoins.
Yeah.
What about DeFi? Obviously, you guys are heavily involved in that area. DeFi is a broad category.
DeFi is a broad term. Like we've been heavily invested in this space for many years.
On-chain trading infrastructure, yield opportunities, and so on.
Yeah, but that's
definitely...
we love the space. I think, that's why the reason I joined the industry. I was in private equity prior to this. I opened up a position in MakerDAO. Took some leverage, put it in a Uniswap pool, was blown away.
And then you ended up at Wintermute.
Yeah, no. That sounds cheesy. But my point is, I think if you interact with DeFi and you're a little bit interested in finance, it's just fascinating. But yeah, no, I think DeFi as a whole, this space is growing up. Hyperliquid has done a phenomenal job. I think, I wouldn't say we're surprised, but we were surprised about how much traction they got. I mean, well done to Jeff and the team. The product is very good. So yeah, I mean, and perps trading, I think if you look at like what really works, like I should put it, what are the sectors where consumers have said, this is a strong product? If you look to like what crypto has invented the last few years, Bitcoin, the store of value, I think people will argue that one. Trading, perps trading, I think that's actually a crypto-enabled product. We've seen have a ton of success. We back DYDX in the back. We have a lot of things. Robinhood is launching perps trading. Hyperliquid came out 2 years ago and have grown into the behemoth they are today. And then clearly stablecoins. I think those three things definitely has become more than just, it's a new crypto innovation. They have shown true product market fit. Consumers want it.
What do you think is the timeline for those three categories to really hit mainstream audiences, not just ones who have access to it through, crypto rails, but those who need to operate within a different framework?
I think Robinhood started banging in that door now, to be honest with you. I think it also depends on regulation in the various jurisdictions. The Genius Act will help you for the stablecoin game. Perps trading, I think some regulation will have to come in and some clarity around regulation, how this treated. So it'll be very interesting to follow. But no, I think we have the ETF now for Bitcoin through BlackRock, various other providers. That's honestly also become like pretty standard. You can go into your brokerage account. I'm a Dane. I could open a Danish brokerage account. I could get access. I think that's a pretty big deal.
Right.
Like whereas in the past you would have to go to, I wouldn't say obscure, but you would have to go to a trust. It wasn't an ETF, etc. So I actually think that's now to answer your question. I think those doors are being knocked down on a daily basis now. The consumer apps, you have also the Revolut, the new banks. A lot of the TradFi firms who has the distribution are embracing these products, and I think that's very good for the industry.
Yeah. You talked a lot about good types of founders, ones that are very driven, resilient, even if like they can't find product market fit, they can pivot into something else. And I know recently that Wintermute launched its accelerator program as well.
That's correct.
And so in terms of the types of founders you guys are looking for, I imagine you're probably involved in the selection process.
Yep.
Yes. What makes a good founder to you? Idea included, yes, but like when you're talking to someone, how do you feel like, okay, this person will figure it out, whether with this idea or another?
I think there's no right or wrong with a founder. Like I think there's no like, this is the manual to be a good founder, to be honest with you. I think they come in all shapes and forms. There's clearly some traits which I think tenacity is one. I think, I'm an investor by background. I think that's a lot easier being a founder. The founder is, I wouldn't say you carry the world on your shoulders, but like you carry a lot of responsibility. At the end of the day, it's where the puck ends. But I think tenacity and ability to adapt to change is super good. I also think like having an ethical more codex, because you will have challenges, you will be offered things, make the right decision, being able to do that. But I think tenacity is really like the one word I would say. And then clearly, like, you need to have a genuine interest, right? I think a lot of founders, they have a true interest in their product, then they'll make a good business. I think it's harder to be, hey, I want to entrepreneur, I want to make money, let me go do this. I think if you have a true interest in what you work in, it doesn't feel like work. Things just come a little easier to you. But yeah, listen, it's easy for me to sit here and say that because I sit and opine on founders. We try to gauge these things, but I think the proof is really the pudding from the founders themselves. But yeah, no, I don't think, to be very candid, I don't think there is this is how a founder has to be. I think it's more what comes out, like, do they have a light in their eyes when they talk about the product, those kind of things.
Yeah, I've asked that question to a lot of investors, and typically they list like 5 or so characteristics they look for. But yeah, there's no like perfect person.
That's also what makes it amazing, right? You meet founders who are, I mean, last week we backed a founder who was not even 18. You know,
How does that work?
Exactly. How does
Gotta
that
get the
work?
parents' approval on the
Exactly. But you are like, you're like, this kid is amazing. Like
Right.
he's driven, he can get help around like those kind of things. But like, you can just see, I wouldn't say Christmas in his like, but you could see like a star in his eyes. Like, this is what he wants. So yeah, they come in all shape or forms, I think that's also, I will say for crypto founders, they probably have to be even more risky. Like, I think they probably have an appetite for risk that's slightly higher than a TradFi founder. And being an entrepreneur is already very risky. So that probably because it comes with an additional layer of regulation concerns. It's been an industry which, we've had events in the past in the industry which have not been helpful for the industry. Those founders have to kind of, go through that. And also when you come and you say you work in crypto at a dinner table with people not working in the industry, you often get a look. I think so that's also things founders have to consider.
Right.
But overall, I think it's a great time to be a founder in crypto. Yeah. It's like you're doing a new financial system from the bottom up again. And it has to make, okay, I'm a nerd in the industry, but I think that's super exciting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Jonas, aside from everything that we've talked about, what else are you paying attention to that you think is important for others too as well?
That's a broad question, but like within the venture landscape, I think a lot of us looks at the talk of the town is also the prediction markets. That's super interesting. It's a new avenue to trade. We look at it as well. As a trading firm, as a core, of course, on the venture side, we look to back the founders, not to be the traders. But I think we also look to be like, what are the next avenues down the road? Clearly, given our DNA as a trading firm, prediction markets are phenomenally interesting. Like, think about it. Like, you could suddenly trade a lot of things. Like, we can trade about, whether the founder of XYZ company turns up in a red or blue shirt, if someone were going to create a market for that. Clearly there, I think, and you have players now like Polymark, Kelsey, they're taking 2 very different approaches on these topics of how to get there. One is regulated, one is unregulated. But if you take that aside about what the right approach is to do it, it's a phenomenally interesting thing. Like, trading things that were not untradeable before is very interesting. We are then the nerds that like consider, okay, how do we get liquidity? How do we ensure that when a user turns up, they actually have something to trade? We also think from a Wintermute perspective, it's an avenue we should trade down the road. How big is the trading opportunity, et cetera, right? How big is this market? Because when you trade a stock, you trade an Apple stock or you trade a token, it's a unified product. Like, it's the same thing you trade every time. But if you trade a prediction market, someone spins up, it could be anything. That also makes it very hard to trade from an institutional perspective.
Right.
So there's some considerations there.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's something we're looking a lot at and trying to figure out how to think about that industry. So yeah, that's, when you asked, that's what popped to my mind.
Amazing. Well, Jonas, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah.